Yeah, bye. All right, XOXO. Got a girl. Audra at Home is filmed in front of a live Pitbull audience. Good morrow and merry meet. My name is Audra and you are in for a treat. All right, so today we're doing yet another palette chat. You're welcome. Today I'm going to be rediscovering my love of the Lunar Beauty Eternal Eclipse. I'm gonna see if I can create something that isn't the exact same look that I created the last time, but I can't. I have no guarantees for you there, so you know, tis what it is, what it is. Today, what I wanted to talk about is why apologies don't work. So if that is interesting to you, stay tuned, strap yourselves in. These videos tend to be long because I'm wordy, and this time I have notes. So perhaps I won't ramble off into some weird world and try to circle back around. All right, let's go. Also, as is my custom, I do not link all of the products that I use. In fact, I don't link most of them. I just have generic links to the stores, which are in fact affiliate links, which do earn a small commission, which I use to put back into the channel. If you would use those if you're shopping regularly, I truly appreciate it. Now, into the nitty gritties. I want to talk about why apologies don't work because I kind of alluded to, like, I have complicated feelings about apologies in my video about whatever it was about. I already forgot the name of the video. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Leave me alone. I just got off work. I took Bo out and I was like, let me film right quick before I don't have, I want to actually Twitch. I want to get on Twitch. And so I was like, let me get some makeup on my face and hop on Twitch. And I was like, you know what would be nice? Filming a quick video. And I already did the outline, so, you know, bully for me. In the old days, when someone fucked up, people actually had the time, the space, and the grace to learn. Like, back in the olden days when people would fuck up, we didn't have the technology exactly where it is now. Everybody wasn't on Twitter and Instagram. There weren't nearly as many forums. I'm not saying that they didn't exist. I'm just saying not only were there not as many, but there weren't as many people being a part of them. And people were at one point given the time, space, and grace to assess the issue and apologize. Like, to assess what they had done, to like really look at it and be like, what happened here? What did I do wrong? Like, why did I upset everybody? I did not intend to upset anyone. You know what I mean? Like, they had some time to kind of look into it and then come out and apologize and take time to understand it. Since then, we've really stopped allowing people to take any time because of the immediacy of the internet. So literally something happens and within minutes we're expecting the creator to come out and denounce or apologize, whatever it is, we're expecting them to have something to say immediately. Like immediately, like this person is accusing you of this, have a statement. The issue with coming out with a statement, as we've seen multiple times, is that like the creator's trying to, at this point, cover their ass and not like, and I don't say that to be rudely, or I don't say that to be rude. I don't say that to be rude because I get it, you know, your livelihood, especially if what you do is YouTube, like this is your job. Your livelihood is at stake if you don't respond fast enough. If you're just like sitting there minding your business quietly, you could lose a lot of shit doing that. You know what I mean? By not like immediately taking part and saying like, oh, I saw what happened. Everyone, I saw it. I'm looking into it. Then everybody just assumes you don't give a shit. And that's, for a lot of people, not even close to the truth. Like, for a lot of people, they're just like, well, what happened? I didn't mean for this to happen. I didn't know that this was going to blow up like this. So you don't even have time to be like, let me look and see, let me figure it out. You have to immediately like pop out a statement within an hour of everybody finding out. And of course, with the way that everything works, like people are tweeting at you, retweeting, quote tweeting, and it feels like the creator doesn't actually have any time to truly assess the situation. They just have to come right out and be like, hey, everybody, I'm so sorry. I see you, I hear you, and I'm listening. Since we've done that, and people no longer have this, it affects how an apology works, right? Because if you don't apologize fast enough, obviously you don't give a shit. But if you take too long, obviously you don't give a shit. Like you're not in a win situation there. And the thing about the olden days was the fact that people did have that time and grace was very important, because that's how people learned, right? Sorry, I'm cleaning up while I'm talking, so sorry if you hear like a kerfluffle, because I just realized I'm like, I keep cleaning up and then I make a mess again. It's just the circle of life here. But the thing about those situations is that people have the opportunity to actually learn. Instead of trying to like immediately react to people being angry, upset, the angry mob, instead of having to worry about immediately placating everybody, you actually had an opportunity to be like, you said something and somebody's like, that was really transphobic. And you're like, I had no idea. And now you actually sat back, you Googled, you had time. If you cared, if you were a person who cared, you could sit back, you Google the information, figure out, whatever phrase you said, and add it with there, and then be like, oh my God, I had no idea that that's what that meant, right? Because people can genuinely make mistakes. People can genuinely say some shit and be like, I did not realize that could be taken that way, or is in fact that way. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, I use the word baddie and have recently come to find out that it doesn't mean the same everywhere. My bad. But in my efforts to not say the word crazy, I stumbled on a word that maybe I shouldn't use either. So it's a situation. But with that being the case, people could actually sit back and figure out what they've done. You can't do that now. Now you have to respond immediately. And that is because drama channels really changed the game. And what started happening, my opinion, is that there was just like this enormous amount of scrutiny placed on creators now. The second you fucked up, there were video after video after video after video of like what you had done, assessing the situation. There was just like a lot of scrutiny on creators on, what had happened was, what transpired, and everybody, couldn't get enough, myself included. Please know, again, if you're new here, whenever I'm talking about stuff like this, I'm including myself. Like, I am not some paragon of virtue. I am just as flawed. I've made just as many mistakes. And when I talk about these things, I talk about them from the perspective of things that I also think that I need to do. So I was out there eating that shit up too. Every time somebody fucked up, I didn't even know who a lot of these people were. Like, the only reason I literally even know who like Gabby Hanna is, Trisha Paytas, like I only know who these people are because I watched drama channels religiously at one point. Like, I was like, ooh, girl. And I didn't even like know what she did. Like, I still don't know what she does. Like, either one of them. What do they do? I have no clue. But I knew of them. My goofy ass was watching every bit of drama that was going on. That's right. With all of that extra scrutiny and the breakdown of the issue coming forth, it changes, the urgency for the apology. It changes your ability to kind of sit back and go like, well, let me learn about this situation, and moves it from let me learn about this situation to let me quickly make sure the mob ain't mad at me. Let me just apologize and move on, right? And I don't think that's great. That changes the game, right? When you're getting highly scrutinized like this and people are, having the calls like, no, I don't know if that's the call, but the mob has come, they are angry, and there's so much scrutiny over how you respond that you've got to respond quick. And on top of that, not only were there breakdowns of the issue, we began to have breakdowns of the actual apology, which I have talked about in detail previously. I don't want to like rehash it, but essentially what I want to say in that regard is there was an enormous amount of attention placed on how one apologized, where they were sitting, if they cried, did they cry enough, did they cry too much? There was just like a lot of looking at exactly how you apologized and what it meant when you apologize that way. It went pretty intense. So I think for a lot of folks, knowing that you're gonna be scrutinized for an apology makes it less likely that you want to do it, right? even if you know you've hurt these people and you want to apologize and you want them to know that that is not how you feel, there is a level of realizing like your real ones are going to know. And I get that that's like some shit to say, but it's true. Your real ones are going to know your true heart and are really going to like be there for you when you apologize, right? Or if you should. But the people who are on the fence or the people who hate you are not going to take that apology. They're not going to enjoy it. And they're going to scrutinize you for not being sorry enough, or for only being sorry because you got caught, obviously. And so with the breakdown of the actual apology, it starts to change how, like, when people apologize and how they apologize. Because the reality becomes, I don't want oodles and oodles of videos, especially if you're a large creator. You're like, I don't want there to be 150 videos out here about my apology, because at the same time that all of this is happening, I did actually apologize. I was genuine and sincere with my apology, and the people who were affected are not going to be able to get the message from me anymore. What they're going to be getting is this dramatized breakdown of whether or not I was sorry, which again, your real ones are going to know. They're going to be like, yeah, they're sorry. You know, Audra's sorry that they said this awful thing or did this awful thing. I believe them. Let's move forward, right? But it's harder to feel that way when you yourself are like watching these videos, breaking it down. Like I can't tell you how many different apology breakdowns I watched in my glory days of enjoying drama channels. With all of this scrutiny and the breakdowns and all of that going on, it put pressure on creators to respond faster, which definitely means that a lot of those apologies came across as insincere. Because instead of you, like, if I make a mistake and I do or say something awful, right? Instead of me being able to put my thought into it, research it, understand why it was harmful, and not only understand why it was harmful, but to also look into other things that I could have said previously that I just didn't, get clocked for, and see like, okay, have I been doing this whole time? And assess my behavior, assess my beliefs, and make sure that like my actual beliefs are coming across, right? I want to be able to do that. I do not want to be a person who's just like, whatever. But now, and I know this because I have gotten into a bit of a situation. It was last year. And the thing about that situation was that like, because we were aware of how YouTube works, we knew we did not have time. We didn't have time on our side. We had to like work very, very, very quickly to put together our apology and let people know that like that is not who we are. I know, terrible, but like to say like that is not this space. That's not what this space is for. And for people to know that this still is a safe place to be no matter who you are, right? But in saying that, I'm gonna tell you, it was rough because I knew we didn't have the luxury, even at our small channel size, I knew we didn't have the luxury of time on our side, that it had to be addressed pretty much immediately, or else, it could harm not just our channels, but what had happened was harmful to people, and it would upset them greatly. And I did not want people to be like stuck in this upset because I had harmed them, And in this case, I truly was sorry for what had happened. And I did not want people to be left feeling like hanging out in this realm was not going to be good for their mental health, that it wasn't going to be a good safe space for them. So all of that being said, it was a lot of pressure to hurry up and fix the issue. I mean, yeah, it was a lot of pressure to hurry up and fix it. There wasn't a lot of time to assess anything. It was just like, we got to fix this. People are hurt, let's get to it. And when you're in that realm and in that thought process, I don't think, luckily for this particular situation, it was something where I could clearly see like, that's not good. I was also aware that like, okay, well, we've got to handle up on this because this is still up and like blah, blah, blah. It was a thing. It was in the past. So anyways, I'm like, it's in the past. But knowing all of that, Emily and I worked very, very hard and very quickly to like solve this issue. And I do think that there are aspects of the issue that could have gone differently if we didn't have the onus of being as quick as possible to respond so that everybody doesn't hate you tomorrow. In my case, I completely understood what had been done, right? But in a lot of cases, there are situations where people don't even get an opportunity to really understand. So, you know, if someone says something that most other people view as transphobic, right? And the creator, let's call her Susie, the creator was like, I had no intentions of being transphobic. I had no idea that this was transphobic. Oh my God. In the past, Susie would have been able to be like, holy shit, how is this transphobic? And like I said, Google it. But these days, once that happens, the creator doesn't even get to go look up and understand. Like, they don't have an opportunity to just go look at the situation, look at what was said, like find out, okay, I said this, how is it transphobic? How is it deemed transphobic? Because if you're gonna apologize, you should know what the fuck you're apologizing for, right? Right, you shouldn't just be like apologizing willy-nilly, right? Right. So in the past, you could actually, you know, go do some research, figure this shit out, and then be like, oh, my bad. Okay, now I see why this is viewed this way, and I understand what I did and how I harmed people, and now I'm going to apologize for having done so. You know, you could take 24 to 48 hours to look at it. You could take a week to make sure you truly understood the issue. Like I said, deep dive into your shit and make sure, like, the things that you hadn't clocked for, that you're able to address those issues as well. Go through and be like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this whole time. Nobody's told me. I didn't know. I had no idea that what I said, you know, I didn't mean for it to come across that way. That wasn't my intent, which is one of the reasons why I do believe it, you know, intent and impact. We may get there, we may not. Who knows? I'm following my notes today, damn it. And so with the pressure to respond faster, it also means that those creators a lot of times don't even know what they've actually done. So they're apologizing for something they don't even understand at this point. And it's like, for why? Like, what's the point in this apology when you don't know why you're apologizing? Now, because I'm bad with names, of course I didn't write this down before I filmed. I should have, but thank you so much to this person who commented this, because this is a big part of it. Now, in that screenshot of that comment, thank you again, because this is, as children, we are constantly and consistently forced to apologize. So if little Eliza hits Juniper, Eliza's mother says, apologize to Juniper. Not even exactly knowing what took place, just apologize to Juniper. And Eliza's like, I don't want to. And the mom's like, I'm so sorry to Juniper's mom. Like, I'm so sorry. I don't know why she's acting like this. Kids, right? But in the end, you are forced to apologize. And additionally, whether Juniper wants to or not, Juniper has to accept that apology. Once Eliza says, I'm sorry, then next up is that Juniper has to go, I accept, thank you. And additionally, for a lot of kids, you're still forced to continue playing with this kid, whether you like them or not. Not me, my mom didn't do that to me, but a lot of parents did. Play dates, play groups, because that was one of the only ways that you got a night out. Like, people would take turns taking all the kiddos and having sleepovers and all that shit, so you were able to go out and do some things and be an adult, right? And it is what it is. I don't have kids, I ain't gonna judge. And this is the reason why apologies don't work anymore at all. The big crux of it is that we have broken the covenant of apologies. The way an apology is supposed to work is that someone says they're sorry and then you have to accept that. Period. That's what we've been taught as children. We have grown up most of our lives doing that. And until we get to a certain level of adulthood and a maturity level, and sometimes some therapy, we don't understand that we don't have to apologize if we're not actually sorry. And also that we don't have to accept apologies. You don't have to accept it. You don't fucking have to. But the problem is, we've all been taught that you're supposed to. So when creators fuck up, their expectation was, I've apologized, okay, now everybody, let's go back to hanging out and watching my content. And the thing about this is that that's the way it was for a while. The covenant was in place. Somebody fucked up, they apologized, people accepted their apology and moved on. It is the exact reason why, even though it is infuriating, when you see an actually problematic creator, and people are still following them, it is the reason that those people will say, straight-faced, he apologized for that. Because they're keeping the covenant of apologies. They're keeping the covenant, which is, well, they said they were sorry. And also, let's get real, not every issue affects everyone. And I am an American and in America, and this is a highly individualistic society that also, because of capitalism, tries to teach you about teamwork, but it's really about being an individual. And so here, it is even more difficult for people to understand that just because it doesn't affect you doesn't mean that you shouldn't care, right? It doesn't mean that. Like, you should still care, even though it doesn't directly affect you. And the reason you should care is because just because that snake ain't biting you now, doesn't mean the snake's not gonna try to eat you later. You know, like, it's not trying to eat you today, but tomorrow it just might. So you should prep yourself for that, and you should understand like why this snake in particular is bad. You can't just sit there and be like, oh no, it doesn't affect me, moving on. But that's what happens to a lot of people. They're like, they apologized, they're keeping the covenant. But a lot of us stopped keeping that covenant. We started going, wait a minute, and for good reason, obviously. Because we grew up, we matured, and we realized just because you say you're sorry doesn't mean A, that you are sorry, but also it doesn't mean I have to accept it. And as that became the norm, with the breakdowns and all of that shit, people didn't have to accept the apology. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. They did not have to accept the apology, and they didn't. They were like, yeah, I'm not accepting that bullshit, move on. You know, get out of my face, trying to pretend like you sorry when you're not sorry. Like, no, what we're not gonna do today, tomorrow, or the day after that, is feign ignorance and, you know, all of this, and that what you did was too egregious for me to accept, right? Whatever you did, it was too egregious for me to accept. I can't move on. But once creators started to realize that that covenant was being broken, they realized that they didn't have to apologize anymore, and that the effectiveness of apologies was kind of shit.
Editing Audra here. So essentially, there is no reward for apologizing like there used to be, like we were kids. The reward was that they apologized, they said sorry, we accepted it, and things move forward. But now that we're actually holding people accountable, that's debatable, but now that we're actually trying to hold people accountable, it's much more difficult for that covenant to continue. And since there's no reward for some of these creators, they don't see the need to apologize because it looks like a lot more risk than it does reward. Okay, back to me rambling on and on.
It's gonna look different for everyone. You know, you ever get in a fight with your friend or someone that you care about very much, I guess a romantic partner, I wouldn't know. But they apologize, right? And depending on what it is that they've done, depends on the level that they apologize and what all they include in said apology. Now, some people might give you a gift. Some people might send flowers, candy. It varies from person to person, obviously, but we're gonna have differing views on, honestly, like what is gonna be accepted and acceptable in this apology. But now when we bring it into this realm, we don't really know what sorry looks like, you know? And like I said previously, what would a creator have to do? And I believe it was in my video saying, you know, problematic and toxic have lost their meaning. I remembered, y'all, don't make fun of me, or do, it's your prerogative. But what does that look like, you know? And creators want to know as well, like, what does it look like to actually be sorry? What does growing and changing look like? What does that mean? Because currently we don't have a room for whatever that's supposed to mean. Because obviously the olden days of trying to force both sides to accept are over. And, you know, I always had a problem with this, teaching the way we taught children, bringing that back around. Because I didn't grow up that way. Now, I say this because I've seen other kids who have been done this way, but I didn't grow up this way. When I got in trouble, it wasn't just like I was sent to my room and then I had to apologize or whatever. My mom would send me to my room. And then about 30 minutes later, my mom would come into my room. And she would then proceed to ask me if I knew why I was in trouble, what I had done. My mother was a psychological warrior. No, I'm sorry. No, but in all seriousness, my mother did not allow me to just say sorry and move on. Because my mother very much understood there was no point in me saying sorry if realistically I had no clue what I was actually sorry for. You know, what would I be apologizing for? And she would ask me that even then, you know, if I was like, sorry, she'd be like, well, what are you sorry for? Became like a regular question. What is it that you are sorry for? And I had to, from a very young age, I learned about like saying sorry and why you need to actually be sorry, the import of understanding what you've done. And so I wasn't allowed to just apologize and move on. That's not how it was in my house. I had to recognize what I had done and then I could apologize for it, you know, once I recognized it. But a lot of people have raised children to like not do that. And that's why I call it the covenant of apologies and how it got broken. The covenant of apologies stated that once somebody said sorry, we had to accept and move on. And obviously we have all like times change and that's not really the way we're wanting to go because it doesn't make sense. But people have difficulty with the fact that they're like, well, I said sorry, accept it, you know, and people don't accept it. And then they don't know how to move forward, you know? How do you move forward from that? How do you take like a step in the right direction, right? Because you're like, well, I apologized. And so you begin to realize that apologizing isn't gonna fix it, right? We have all of these things going on. We're no longer forcing both sides to accept. I had to realize that I was taking part in that as well, right? I was sitting there, you know, trying to get people to apologize, trying to get everybody to feel the way that I felt. And I had to realize that one, everybody doesn't, like I've said before, it doesn't affect everybody the same. And some people, that's fine for them. Other people, covenant of apologies. They're used to be, you know, accepting an apology. Like, so even if it's not theirs to accept, they're still going to accept it and be like, they said sorry, let it go. And you're like, but you don't really you're not the boss of them. So you can't force them to believe the way that you do. And so that finally brings me to the last portion that I'm gonna be talking about. I think it does matter. I think that there's a large call to be like, your intent doesn't matter, the impact matters. And I think that both things do in fact matter. Now I do before I even get started, I do fully understand that there are people who utilize intent to get away with the negative impact. But I think that there's a lot of people who genuinely did not intend for harm to come to anybody when they said or did what they did, right? They had zero intent to actually harm a community. And so especially if you look at someone's track record and like you look and you go, you know, it's weird that like we're just finding this out about them because it feels like this isn't who they are, right? That is how we get to forgiveness, right? If I understand that someone's intent was never to harm, like me saying baddie, what my intent wasn't to harm or curse or be rude or hateful, right? My intent was to move away from saying the word crazy, right? So my intent to use baddie wasn't harmful. My impact is negligible because very few people know about it, but it still exists, right? But in me telling you what my intent was, you see something different in what took place. And from there, if it was something significantly worse, right, you would be like able to make your choice. Do you forgive me? Do you forgive me and move on? Or do you not? Understanding both of those things together allows you to make a better determination as to whether or not you forgive someone. It's actually one of the big reasons that I am such a stickler for how we use language in certain instances, right? It's one of the reasons why I will be a person who says we shouldn't call someone a thing. We should say that the thing that they said was, unless they actually are that thing, right? And the reason I am like that is because I fully understand we're immediately putting someone on the defense. So if someone were to call me and say like, oh, Audra, you're transphobic, even though it was a statement I made that was transphobic, not me, what's gonna happen is I'm gonna get more on the defense about being called a thing that I'm not. Conversely, I'm also not gonna be doing the work that I need to be doing to care about the harm that I cause to other people, because I'll be so busy trying to defend myself against being called a thing. Intent doesn't have to matter to everybody, right? It doesn't have to. But I think for me, knowing what you had intended to do versus what happened, helps me out a lot. Because then I'm like, oh, I see. You were trying to be cute and funny, came off incorrectly. You didn't really research, or you didn't figure out that like this meant that, or whatever it was, right? You tried to jump on this train, you did it badly. Whatever it is, right? I'm able to go, okay. And I can assess the situation in my own mind and make my decision from there. And I feel like that's kind of, honestly, one of the few ways to the path of forgiveness is understanding what somebody was trying to do. I think a lot of times we're so quick to jump and judge that we don't care anymore what someone's intent was, because there are people who are intentionally harmful regularly. And as I mentioned previously, people who will utilize intent to get out of the impact that they had. But for those who genuinely care, I just find it very harmful that we won't allow them the space to tell you, this is what I was actually trying to do. And I realize I went about it the wrong fucking way. My bad. Super sorry. Obviously they wouldn't say it like that, but like, and then you're able to judge them from there instead of judging from just like these weird apologies that have to be cobbled together as quickly as possible in order to not get canceled. And that's why apologies don't work. The covenant's been broken. They've been over-assessed to the point that there's no reason to continue. And most importantly, what we have found is that people begin to realize that it's up to you. You're either going to accept their apology or you're not. But especially if YouTube is their job, they have to keep working. And so they can either apologize and just keep moving forward, and just like hope that people will see that they have changed, or they can give a lot of lip service to the change that they've been making, which for a lot of folks isn't actually true, but it looks good on paper. And then other people just started choosing to not apologize at all. Why have that on your record? If people aren't gonna, if a good chunk of people aren't even gonna accept it, why have it on your record? So yeah, that's it. And this is the look. How do I look? Aside from my hair doing whatever it's doing, but I'm loving this ultra shiny lip I've been doing. Come get some. Anywho's it's. That is it. That's the video. That is why apologies don't work. I hope you enjoyed this long, arduous journey, and I hope that you'll come back for more. All right. If you did enjoy this video, please do me a favor and give it a big thumbs up, so then that way the algorithm goddess can go ahead and do what she does best, which is push me further down into the algorithm so that I can continue to do whatever the fuck I want to. And as usual, huge shout out to my patrons and spooky bays, yeah, without which I truly would not be able to keep the bats in the belfry and the spiders firmly ensconced in their webs. And I appreciate all of you who come out for movie night. That's such a fun time, even when I fall asleep. But I have things in place to rectify that situation. So next time I fall asleep, it won't get weird. Somebody will be there to control things. All right, y'all. You know it costs $0 to be kind. It's so good for your soul, because if you don't take care of it, I'm sure shit coming for yours. Until next time, XOXO. Gothic girl. I am sweating so fucking profusely. It's unreal. Do I look like I just got off work? I don't give a fuck. You can't see it, but I can, and I like it. Wait, you can. Never mind. I'm an asshole. Like, I turned on my heat, and it's already hot again. Fucking Texas. Texas always be playing games with my emotions. So if Louisville... I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. What's wrong with me? And I had to... Audrey too. Audrey too back there trying to shine. The circle of life, really? Okay. Anyways. Why am I like this? I'm doing so good with notes that I don't think I have bloopers anymore except for burps.